Good morning, guys, and welcome to What's Up Wednesday. My name's Gary Watkins, the Group CEO of the Quattro Finance Group, and I'm joined by Hayden Little, the CEO of Foundation Fund Managers. Hayden, welcome.
Morning, Gary. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a while.
It has. We've been a busy period, and time has definitely slipped past super quick. We're already into August. Can you believe it?
No, it's scary. Yeah, absolutely scary. So there's been lots happening in the world with obviously the Russian war with the Ukraine. We had China's slowdown in terms of production and exports coming in and out of the ports. We've had some rand volatility running rampant. We've had COVID clampdowns. We've had looting, striking, rain, floods in KZN. I'm just waiting for Christmas to come, please.
Well, the good news is there's, if you were clever with your public holidays, you got a 4-day weekend on the very near term horizon. So hopefully a little break there.
I'm hoping so, indeed. Absolutely. But we are resilient. All right. So maybe let's get cracking just quickly. I'd like to just ask you a few questions about the rand and where we are at the moment. As we've seen, the rand has been running quite nicely lately. I think we were sitting at 17.25 to the dollar, and then we came right the way down to 16.40, which was nice to see. And then yesterday it went up again, 16.85 to the dollar. Any idea on what's happened and where we're going to from here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday was hopefully a very short-term blip for the rand. We were out at 17.25-ish not too long ago, thanks exclusively to a rampant US dollar, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But just when it looked like it was doom and gloom for the rest of the year and the rand was on a one-way ticket to, I don't know, $18, $19 and beyond, the dollar turned around and it started to weaken, and that helped the rand improve. We notched up impressive gains session after session, as you mentioned, all the way to 16.40, which still historically is an elevated level, but definitely a lot better than the mid-17s, early to mid-17s. And I would imagine a lot of importers were jumping in and paying invoices at that level. But then yesterday, bang, it hit right out to 16.85. And that was thanks to I'm not going to say unplanned, because I would have thought senior US diplomats have got a very tight schedule that's planned far in advance, but definitely a not communicated trip by US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She touched down in Taiwan yesterday, which is the first time in 25 years that anybody of that sort of stature, that high level US official has landed in Taiwan. Taiwan, I'm not going to get into the politics of it. There's a massive disconnect between the world seeing them as an independent state and China seeing them as just a little rogue province that is actually under Chinese rule. But at the end of the day, a senior US official landing in Taiwan, potentially causing yet further geopolitical tensions on top of what we're seeing with Russia and Ukraine and various other hotspots in the world. It was just a risk-off day. Equities sold off, emerging market currencies sold off, the dollar was stronger. 16.85 is where we ended up.
Yeah, I see we've strengthened a little bit this morning. But if we look at the Nancy Pelosi visit aside, what other reasons are there, or main reasons are there, for us gaining against the dollar in the past week or so?
For sure. So, yeah, hopefully this Pelosi story is done in a day or so. I understand that she's really just staying there overnight last night and is moving on for the rest of her tour. And fingers crossed, there's no real significant Chinese backlash. They've had a couple of fighter planes flying around and 1 or 2 military exercises, which is understandable, but nothing too severe. So hopefully the rand can get back onto the front foot, or actually the dollar onto the back foot, because as mentioned earlier, the dollar had been on an incredible run for months and months, just heading north. The dollar index, which is a basket of major currencies, that's the dollar and 5 other majors, pound, euro, Swiss franc, Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. The dollar index the dollar was incredibly strong in the dollar index because of primarily elevated inflation in the States. It's a 40-year high at 9.1% CPI. And the inference that the Fed is going to continue hiking interest rates aggressively, and that is dollar positive. And that is what drove the dollar up to 109 on the dollar index. But in the last couple of weeks, the market sort of changed its tune a bit and said, okay, well, the Fed has hiked by 25 basis points in March. They went by 50 basis points in May. They went by 75 basis points in June, and another 75 basis points just a week or two ago in late July. And now they've got a pause between their next meeting in September. And that they're quite far into their tightening cycle, and definitely way further than any other central bank around the world. And the market's a strange place. So, the market's suddenly going, okay, well, maybe the Fed is closer to the end of their hiking cycle when other central banks are only getting going. And maybe the Fed's even put themselves in a position to start cutting interest rates mid-2023 if we see a meaningful or deep US recession. And if that's the case, the dollar is going to start weakening. And so the dollar index went from 109 down to 105. And that allowed the rand just to get on the front foot, and 1640 is where we got to. Hopefully we can actually make a run at 16 flat at some point in the not too distant future.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of speculation around whether the US are actually going to go into a recession, or if it's just going to be a very sort of shallow dip for a short period of time. But taking international factors out of the equation, South Africa as a whole, is there anything in South Africa that could potentially also strengthen the rand against the dollar?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've always got these conflicting stories in the local markets, typically political concerns that weigh on the rand, as well as energy concerns. And of course, I'm talking directly to Eskom and load shedding. But at the same time, we've also got a couple of positives. We've got the Reserve Bank, which are a well-respected bank around the world, headed up by Lesetja Kganyago. And they surprised the market in July by going with 75 basis points of their own. Market was pretty much expecting 50 basis points. So that was an overly aggressive move, or an overtly aggressive move, I should say, with the intention of cooling our own inflation, which is quite significantly above the upper 6% target range. I think it came in at 7.2% as the latest reading. And Kganyago just said, look, guys, we're going to go with 75 basis points, and we're going to keep our options open to go as aggressively as we need to tame inflation. And simply put, that's good news for the rand, because if we're looking at higher domestic interest rates, that's going to be good for our carry trade, i.e. people borrowing abroad at lower interest rates, bringing it to South Africa and investing in our bonds at higher rates. And props up the rand. Not so great for the indebted local consumer, or the people that maxed out their credit at 7% prime interest rates. They're going to be feeling a bit of pain, but a bit of collateral damage there, I suppose. And then also we've had the energy action plan announced by government a week or so ago. Finally, it looks like a credible plan to bring load shedding to an end as soon as possible, really bringing the private sector into the energy mix. And let's see if they can implement it timelessly, but it's a good headline and good for the rand.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Hayden, I'm going to end off with one last question. I've got some money. I want to invest it. I'm a client. What do I do? We're sitting now at, let's call it the 16, I think we're 1660 odd at the moment to the dollar. What is your advice to people wanting to invest abroad?
Okay, so foundation fund managers, primarily we're an offshore investment house, right? So we focus on the US, UK, and European markets, but with an overweight position in US equities. I've got a lot of clients waiting to send money abroad to investment accounts of ours. At 1670, 1680, it's a little bit expensive. At 1640, we actually had our finger hovering over the button, ready to take maybe not all, but parts of those monies abroad. As I mentioned earlier, 1640 historically is still quite a high level. So, if you've got a lot of money to send, 3, 4, 5 million or more, maybe do half. If it's a smaller amount, maybe bite the bullet and buy the dollars at this rate, 1640 or below. Obviously, anything closer to 16 would be first prize. And the reason we're a little bit bullish on buying dollars sooner rather than later is because equities have sold off aggressively over 2022. The NASDAQ index, which is the tech-heavy index in the States and an index that we track quite closely, had a 34% peak to trough fall from November, December through to the middle of June. but it's stabilized. And 16th of June was the recent low, which is now a month and a half ago. And in fact, that index has put on 16.5% since the 16th of June. Still got a long way to go to get back to its January highs, December, January highs. And because of that, we want to buy dollars. We want to get invested overseas and enjoy the rest of the upswing as the market recovers. But we're cautious there as well, because there's no guarantees that the selling is over. So once again, if we've got a lot of dollars abroad, we'd probably take a third, a half maximum and put it on the table right now.
Yeah, I think that's sound advice. So, I mean, in essence, what you're saying is have your dollars ready, sitting in your offshore account. When the buying opportunity presents itself, your dollars are there, ready to take the opportunity and try and capitalize on that growth, as opposed to sitting, waiting in Rand for the markets to have some recovery and then start the process. How long does it normally take for an investor? If I phoned you and said to you, I've got 5 million Rand, I'm wanting to invest it offshore now, to convert the Rands into the dollars and then the dollars into your international trading account. A rough timeline?
Okay, so let's assume that I've never heard from you before. You're a brand new client. There's a couple of boxes that we've got to tick before we can even help you. And the first and foremost is opening up your investment account with us. We partner with the bank in Zurich in Switzerland. It's a very simple little process, a couple of application forms completed, copy of your passport, copy of your proof of address, send the originals via courier to Zurich. And in 10 days' time, you've got a bank account in your name overseas, which is an investment account. It's not just a bank account. It's an account that allows us then to populate with your dollars and allocate to the markets in your Apples and Microsofts and Visas and MasterCards of this world. So that's the first box that needs to get ticked, roughly 10 days to get your account open. Another box that needs to get ticked is that if you're doing more than R1 million, and R1 million is your annual allowance in terms of what's called a SDA or single discretionary allowance, you then also need to get a tax clearance certificate from SARS to allow you to take anything above $1 million. Between 1 million and 10 million is the band that you can apply for tax clearance. Now, it all depends on whether you're in good standing with SARS, and if you are, who gets your application at SARS and how quickly they can process your tax clearance, your foreign investment allowance tax clearance application. I've seen that happen in 48 hours, maybe 3 days at most, or shortest, and I've seen it drag on for 2 to 3 weeks or even longer. So that is a little bit of a black box. We don't know how long it's going to take, but if you're wanting to go offshore and you've got the Rands in your account, get that SARS application process started straight away, because as soon as it's approved and you get the PIN, it's valid for 12 months and you don't even have to use it if you don't want to. So rather get the piece of paper, you've got it in your top drawer when needed. So assuming you got your tax clearance and getting your Swiss Quattro account open, which is the bank in Zurich that we work with, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, and we're good to go. It might sound like a long time, but obviously we're dealing with international banks and so on. So there is a bit of a process, but let's get that set up, and then hopefully the Rand improves in the interim and we can go from there.
I think the problem is that if you wait that long, you're going to lose the opportunity to get into the market at the right price. So exactly. The advice is rather be prepared and ready rather than sit and wait and then try and pull the trigger when it's too late.
Exactly right. And you know, the buying opportunity is presenting itself right now. Massive sell-off abroad, a little bit of stability returning to the market. Things are feeling a bit better in the market, and we're actually looking to actively add to our allocations this week. I'll be with clients that have got free cash sitting at their accounts abroad today or tomorrow. I would have thought we're going to be taking a nibble in the market. So give us a shout if you want to hear more.
That's fantastic, Hayden. Thank you very much. So what's up Wednesday? Lovely to see you again. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks, Gary. Have a good one. Enjoy your long weekend, and chat next Wednesday.
Fantastic. Cheers, Hayden.
Bye.